Good morning, everyone. Carbon is on the nose, and the problem we have is that people have been listening to the misinformation that's been put out there, but what we really try and get across to business and what you need to be aware of is that carbon tax evasion is the aim of the game. You need to be avoiding this new tax. And the studies have shown that on the tables that we've got here, there's probably only one business represented on any of those tables that was adequately prepared and really understood the impacts that the carbon tax would have on their business. And when you think about the opening statements today, that 46% of those failed businesses failed because they didn't have business strategies in place. Carbon management can take you down that pathway where you start focusing on what's happening in your business and having a better understanding of how your business is operating and where it's going. So I think one of the leading examples of that is in the lead up to the carbon tax, Linfox, the transport company, decided they were going to reduce their carbon emissions. Over a 3-year period, they set a 15% target for reduction. They actually managed 25% reductions. In the meantime, their diesel bill went from $100 million a year down to $85 million a year. And what astounds most people about that story is that transport company was sitting there basically throwing away $15 million worth of diesel a year. Now, in your businesses, that sort of thing is happening. So for most of you, you wouldn't have that sort of expenditure on energy, but when you look at the fact that in virtually any business, there's a wastage between 10 and 40%. In most businesses, you can go in and easily save 20 to 30% of your energy costs. And for small businesses where, you know, if you look at the statistics, the better ones are making out of $1,000 of turnover, they're putting $150 of that in their pocket. A lot of the statistics are showing that a lot of them are only putting $50 in their pocket. If you're spending out of that $1,000, $200 on energy, and you can save 20% of that quite easily, then there's another $40 profit to add on to that. And when you start looking at that impact on the bottom line, then carbon tax evasion starts to make a lot of sense. So it really is about making sure that organisations can have a strategy to move forward. And once you start focusing on what's happening in your business and start engaging your staff and getting their input, other benefits start to flow on. So there's been cases where, and I've seen them personally, where organisations have taken this to their staff. Staff have had a lot of input. It's lifted the morale in the workplace. It's given their staff a sense of ownership. It also gives people a sense of understanding of what their business actually does. And if you think of your own businesses, are you sure that everyone in your business understands where you're going and why different things happen in your business? And if you start to talk about strategy and managing different things and measuring different things, then people get a much better idea of where you're going and why you're doing different things. So when you look at energy efficiency as a buzzword at the moment, when you're looking at carbon emissions, energy efficiency is synonymous with carbon. So if you're consuming electricity, if you're consuming fuels, gas, those sorts of things, then you've got your carbon emissions are up. And the whole idea of the carbon tax is to modify behaviours. You know, do I have my heater 1 degree cooler in the winter, so I save 8% of my energy costs on my heating and cooling, and do I put it up 1 degree in summer? Do I bother to turn off the lights? You know, do I come into my office and turn every single light on? Do we think about how we manage our equipment through the day? And critically, do we have purchasing criteria in place? So when you look at these things, are we buying on price, or are we looking at the whole of life costing of the equipment that we buy? So when you start to do these sorts of things, there's big savings to be had. So not only can you give yourself an environmental pat on the back, you can also say, well, I've actually got more money in my pocket. And you can choose whether you give that money to Mr Swan indirectly through your energy provider, or whether you put it in your own pockets. Okay. So I think the critical thing is that managing carbon emissions is about looking at business risks, and what gets measured gets managed. And if you have no idea of where your energy is going and what's happening in your business and what's being wasted, then you can't manage that. And if you want to have a successful business moving forward and be sustainable in a business sense, then sustainable actions within your business can help to do that. Not so much because of the sustainability aspect, but because you're actually forming a strategy and managing your business and managing what happens in your business. So don't hold back with your questions. If you think the carbon tax is a load of rubbish and you want to challenge me on that in the questions, quite happy to take that challenge on. But yeah, looking forward to talking to individual groups. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bill.